don't mind hearing, oh, she's really underrated, because I get a chance to say, oh, you didn't know that? Well, guess what? Watch. And it's always that, oh, I had no idea she could do that. That's my secret sauce. I got a phone call from Jerry Mitchell, who is the director and choreographer for Devil Wears Prada. He told me that he was going to recreate the production that was initially done in Chicago a few years back, and to trust him with the process. And I trust that Jerry is, I just call him a magician, because he had a vision and has created magic with this production of Devil Wears Prada. And honestly, it's an opportunity to create a role, which I've always wanted to do. It's been part of my bucket list. You know, I've been blessed to follow Cheetah Rivera in Kiss the Spider Woman, do a revival of Into the Woods with Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine. But to create a role in a new musical has been one of my dreams. So I'm getting a chance to create Miranda Priestley.
I don't understand why it's so difficult to confirm an appointment.
No, I'm so sorry, Miranda. I actually did confirm last
Details
night.
of your incompetence do not interest me.
How much Miranda Priestley is in, well, it's very comfortable to play, which I don't know whether that's a reflection of some kind of frustrated alternate personality that I do have, but, you know, I've been given these strong roles over and over again. And at some point it's like, oh, is it typecasting? Am I always going to play these strong women that have attitude? But I think my skill set in what I'm given to play, as there are strong women, they are certainly intimidating. They have teachable lessons that are always, they're kind of, they're formidable because they've worked their lives to create something that means something. But I always try to find the humanity and the kind of a soft underbelly to them all, when you can see the crack in the veneer and say, oh, that's why she worked so hard, because she didn't get the love from her father. She didn't, you know, she was told no so many times. That's why she's got that drive.
You have no style or sense of fashion.
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
Never met Meryl Streep, no. Mm-mm. No. No, in my 40 years in this business, I've not. I danced my whole life. My parents were both music teachers, so I played French horn and piano, and was in marching band and chorus and orchestra and stage band, and did the plays and musicals in school. And lucky enough that in my high school, we had an acting department. So we had an acting teacher. So I studied acting, you know, my freshman year. So I was lucky by the time I went to Syracuse for musical theater, I'd already had 4 years of acting training in my high school. Sophomore year, I auditioned and got into a bunch of stuff. So I had done 3 productions in a row. One of the board members of the pageant was friends with one of my friends and said, would she do the Miss Greater Syracuse pageant? I said, no. In April, the show that I was supposed to be in got canceled. I had April free, and I called my mom and said, do you think I should do this pageant? She said, is there scholarship money? I was like, yeah. I was like, well, then do it. My parents didn't even come. I sang a song from that I'd done in performance class. My friend played the piano. I got a bathing suit down at our local department store, and won Syracuse in April, went to the States, sang the same song or the same stuff, won New York State in July, and then I was on my way to Atlantic City in September and won everything. When my mother had my birth announcements back in the day, 1963, you know, they were all paper, you know, like stationery, and the ones that she chose in 1963, after March 18th when I was born, the front of it had a baby carriage, and it says, here she is, and you open up, it said Miss America. Who knew that 20 years later, I would be Miss America? I got a chance to meet presidents, go to the White House for dinners, and then the next month I ended up being at a state dinner, and waiting in line, in the receiving line to meet, the president and the First Lady, Mrs. Reagan, and next to me is Holston, and there's Ginger Rogers, and there's Martha Graham, and it's like, oh my God, the mega stars. Lena Horne burst into tears when I met her because she was an idol, and here she is saying she was proud of me. It was a tremendous, tremendous year. So, as terrifying as it was incredible. But the question was like, what's next? What's in store? And I think I was a bit naive in terms of, I was isolated, come from New York, used to living with many different cultures, and my parents had lived through the civil rights era. So I thought, okay, everything is fine. And then you realize everything's not fine. And that was pretty, that was the stark reality hit me rather quickly. September 1983, where you'd think there's been a big progression from the civil rights era in the 60s when people are getting assassinated, and the Voting Rights Act, all those things being put in place for a better life for my parents to have a child live safely in the world. And then 20 years later, where I think I'm living in a safe, equal world, and people want to kill me for being black, and people want to, not you're black, so you're not representing America. That was the reality that was startling and terrifying. And thank God I had parents that supported me. I'm like, we can't quit. You got to do this.
10 months later, you found out that Penthouse was planning to
Yes.
to run
Yeah.
these images.
Mm-hmm.
What went through your head in that moment, and who did you call?
I talked to my parents and talked to my attorney. And my attorney was our neighbor who I used to babysit their kids, and he was basically handling any offers that were coming in as my while I was Miss America. So he was a family friend. And that's when we started to strategize what's going on, because I didn't know what's going. I hadn't signed a release, so I didn't know what was going on. So that's when we had to try to do some investigative work and find out what's happening. My headspace at 21 years old, which is insane. I was standing next to my soon-to-be husband a few years later, and creating a wonderful career together with him. So that was a wonderful, safe space to be supported. And the reality at the moment there was so much chaos around me that it kind of took me like, oh my God, what is this hullabaloo all about? So it took the pressure of the enormity of the emotions and fighting for, to be heard and seen, to like, this is a circus and this is crazy. And it took the weight off it and gave it a bit of levity, like, people calm down, let me speak, because it was a madhouse. And that really helped get me through. That was the reality at the time. There's a tremendous amount of onus, pressure, shame, judgment. I mean, I've said judgment 10 million times, but judgment, responsibility, that I certainly took on as a 21-year-old, for sure. And it was global. I can sit at such wisdom now. I look back at a teenage brain, and then a 21-year-old brain being impressionable, being impulsive, feeling safe, feeling led. All of those things that you think, oh, I'm an adult, I know what I'm doing. And then in retrospect, at 61, I look back at my 19-year-old self, my 20-year-old self, my 21-year-old self, and think, oh my God, you were so naive, you were so trusting, you were so vulnerable. And in your mind, you think, I'm old, I'm 20 years old, I'm 19 years old, I know what I'm doing. Yes, I give myself grace now. But when I was a young adult, I beat myself up. I should have known better. I should have been more aware. I should have had street smarts. I should have trusted my gut. Those are the things that I constantly beat myself up for. I have 4 kids. I think it's only been kind of recently that, the historical significance at 20 years old, because they're all older than I was now, but the fact that I became famous at 20 years old, and relative to their lives, and having death threats and having to go through breaking, a huge hurdle, and what the repercussions of that was. I don't think they realized it until them getting older than I was when I first became famous, and realizing, wow, how did you handle all this, Mom, at 20? And then I look back at my 20-year-old self and say, my God, I was a baby, because now my children are 37, 35, 31, and 24. So it makes you grow up fast. And it was a different time back then. But I think it's only as they're adults that they realize, geez, you had to go through a lot. Oh, what kind of mom I am? I'm curious to hear what they would say. I'm definitely the adventurous mom. I'm the mom that's like, let's go on the roller coaster 5 times in a row. Let's go out on a boat. Let's dive off the ship. My kids have hang glided, and I've met them on the beach while they're coming in. So I am the mom who says, let's go for it. I think my kids have always enjoyed the perks of my job. When I sang Colors of the Wind for Pocahontas, and we had a huge debut of the movie, it was in Central Park, and so they got all the swag, and they kind of realized, wow, that's really cool that my mom is on the radio singing the song from a hit Disney movie. And then also the following year, I got a chance to sing live at the Academy Awards. That was a cool status thing back in 1996 for my kids. But then when you get a chance to meet NSYNC backstage and Britney Spears, those are all the, Mom, can we go see the Spice Girls? Sure, and driving them to Jones Beach and then going backstage and meeting the Spice Girls. So the kids always enjoyed the fact that, my work was my work, but my access to what they liked was even better. The older I get, I'm 61, I reflect on what my makeup is, and I look at my mom, who's going to be 85 this year, and she's always on the go. She's always involved in the community and women's groups and women's rights and mentorship. And the more I see what she has given me and the reflection of who she has been and built through her life, I definitely think that it's in my DNA. I've always been hopeful. I've always been an optimist. I'm really happy. Yes, I'm an empty nester, but thank God for FaceTime, that I get a chance to talk to anyone whenever and share where I am with whoever, and have the joy of being always connected. And I'm happy because I'm doing what I love. Being able to perform my music and show the 38 years of recording that I've done, and continue that. When you see me on stage and you see me firing on all levels, you know that I'm happy because I'm doing what I do well and I'm loving it. Am I in love? I'm in love with life. There is not one person that I'm in love with, but I'm in love with everybody. I love being alive, having options in my life, and being surrounded by beautiful things, great people, and wonderful opportunities.